cursed by the old gods in Bethany. We are four souls destined to review the 1001
Movie,
albums,
songs,
and TV shows you must consume before you die. Until then, we are the Immortals.
Alright, this is episode 179.
Cool.
we're so close.
To what?
It's true.
180.
It's true.
At which point the podcast will do a 180.
Ah.
Start going backwards and just do this week's movie again for 181 and go all the way back to the beginning.
Wonderful.
I really want to revisit Birth of a Nation.
Can't wait to do Persona twice in
Twice.
3 weeks.
Yeah, that's the plan.
That's a super fun idea that I really am enjoying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Austin.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Pedro.
True. Like we said last week, JC couldn't make it this week because of scheduling, but we do have Sarah back.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hello.
I'm not dying of a migraine anymore.
Well, that's good.
That's true. Yeah. It's a solid reason not to do a show about, uprising.
Yeah. Strike's really good, actually. I can henge Strike.
Yeah, last week we did Sergei Eisenstein's silent film Strike. You can hear all of our thoughts about that last week. But Sarah was not there, so Sarah, do you want to give us a quick reaction and hinge rating?
Yeah, sure. I really liked it. I feel like an idiot because, of course, as soon as it started and I saw the Marx quote, or the Lenin quote, sorry, I was like, oh, of course, it's that use of the word strike. It's a Russian silent movie from the early 20th century. But I really liked it. I thought the soundtrack was really cool. I thought some of the shots were like just insanely coolly constructed and very like geometric and abstract. And I love me some good like silent film overacting, particularly like the factory boss.
Yep.
But no, I found it thoroughly enjoyable as far as, silent movies go. It's always interesting watching Soviet stuff because like I have a lot of friends now who are sort of modern communists, and it's interesting watching. But modern communism is always a little bit like, it's always got an asterisk by it, or it's either like modern communism, but like, okay, but like we know it hasn't worked, like ever. We get that. But okay, guys, let's talk about it. Or it's got like a little like, or it's a little tongue in cheek, or a little bit like quixotic. And like, it's always interesting to watch something like this, which is very, earnestly communist in a way that is like good. I mean, like, in a way that is like, showing why communism is a good thing that seemed like a good idea. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was interesting. It was more interesting than I expected it to be, and I liked it.
How many hinges do you give it?
4.2.
By far the lowest.
Really?
Yeah. Pedro got 4.8. JC get 4.7. I get 4.6.
All right. I think it is that one of those things that whenever I find that when I henge by myself, like when I do these, my rating's always lower. I think always talking about things makes me appreciate them more. So it's rare that I think I tend to end higher than I start. But I liked this. It wasn't my favorite.
You said you have friends who are communists? You want to use this platform to name some names?
No.
Name some names.
I ain't no snitch. I ain't no snitch.
Anyone watch anything good in the past less than a week since we recorded?
Yes.
I don't think so. Have we?
What do you mean?
I don't remember what I've seen in the past few days.
Yeah, Austin, you catalog our entire artistic intake. Tell us.
I think I've seen like 4 films with you since we recorded last.
We saw half of Chopping Mall.
I fell asleep during that.
Yeah.
I didn't count that one, actually.
Okay. We saw that Italian movie.
Mm-hmm.
Forget what it's called.
All the Colors of the Dark.
That was weird.
Wasn't that great?
Kind of weird.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
Okay.
That's all I remember.
Austin and I saw Parasite, and you should all go see Parasite.
Yeah, Parasite's incrable. Best film of the year.
Really good, yeah.
So far for me.
Oh, for sure. And I will stand by everybody else says, like, don't know anything going in. Like, it's just, which is, yeah, don't know anything going in. It's a beautiful commentary on just a lot of things. It's very of its time. Like, it's very much a movie for this year. Like, it's a movie for its time, which is, yeah, it's really fucking good.
it was funny because like it's a movie just so well structured and it has just kind of like it's a very natural progression of a story. It's just like oh, they were on the moon the whole time, like dramatic twist in the middle.
It's very linear and dramatic in some ways, yeah.
There's just a few points in the movie where it just kind of pivots the story just a little bit. And 2 of those times, Sarah went to go refill her drink.
It's really funny. Like I really did like I stepped out at like the 2 big reveals in the movie. I mean, it wasn't hard to follow or anything. I don't feel like I like missed anything except for like those 10 minutes. But I am like genuinely gonna watch the movie again to see those 2 scenes.
It reminds me of my family. We all watched The Phantom Menace like a couple times in theaters. So like, saw it with my family. Then when we were in Texas, we saw it with like Texas family. And my mom and my brothers, or at least like one of my brothers, went to the restroom in the middle of the movie. It wasn't until we had like a Star Wars, not picture book, but like book for kids going through the Phantom Menace, and it gets to the middle when Darth Maul attacks Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan in the middle of the in Tatooine and whatnot. Did my mom go like, "That's weird. The scene's not in the movie." I said, "Yeah, it is." No, it's not. They realized they went to the bathroom the same time.
At the same time, both times.
For both movies.
You can't do that.
And then the third time they saw it in theaters, like, we have to stay. There was something
That's
we're
so
missing.
Funny.
Yeah, you wouldn't know because that fight doesn't actually change anything about the movie.
Well, very little about those movies has consequence in any real way.
It exposes the fact that there's a new Sith.
That's true.
Out there.
That's true. Yeah, that does a slight shift.
That's
Sith,
all.
Sith shift.
Sith shift.
Sith shift.
Shifty Sith.
Shift.
So shifty. So Sithy, so shifty.
Cool.
Yeah, we all did vocal exercise before we started recording this.
Yeah, we're good, yeah.
What else have I enjoyed in the past few days? I finished Big Mouth Season 3. That was quite
so
good.
good.
I enjoyed that. I saw the last Joanna Hogg film I haven't seen, Exhibition, which was really good.
Seen a few episodes of Creepshow.
Creepshow? Yeah, nice.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Fun, creepy.
We watched the first one together.
We did.
Yeah. It's good. I haven't watched any more yet since.
I'll give a shout out to a show that I'm very much enjoying right now, which is Evil, which I don't think we've talked about yet.
I think we might have.
Maybe, but the people who made The Good Wife making a crazy exorcism show, and also Asif Manvi's in it, and the guy who plays Luke Cage,
Mike Pulfer.
It's just real good, but it's also it's so much better than it has any right to be. It really is. The plot lines are they could be X-Files plots, and you don't see that level of it's camp, it's true true old school Catholic Church demon camp stuff, and it's great, and I love it, and I want to watch it all the time. I can't remember what night it airs, and so every day I'm like, Austin, is there another one? And you're like, no.
Thursdays on CBS.
Oh, you're gone next Thursday. I won't watch without you.
Okay.
It's a good show. It's good. We had a really creepy Halloween one last week.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or 2 weeks ago.
Whatever.
And a half. There you go.
Whatever.
It's mid-November now.
I don't know.
Is it?
Sure.
Halloween's not for... Okay.
Today's the 8th or the 9th of November.
This is... Okay, no, I'm too tired to play time timer. It's too confusing.
It's the Sunday before Halloween.
We need to move on.
Yeah, you guys want to get into the stuff in general?
Yeah, let's do it.
Or do you have anything else you want to... Peter, you seem to be breaking your brain about what you've seen.
I feel like I've seen so many things, but I don't really know. I saw a movie where Harry Crane's a bad guy.
I mean,
fun.
Harry Crane's a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Harry Crane, from Mad Men? Harry Crane's always a bad guy.
I guess that's true.
Nice.
Oh, Summer of '84. There we go.
Okay.
That's fun.
Hers not bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah. Have you been watching Shudder all day, all night?
Yeah. Some of that I saw. Summer of '84 we saw at work.
Mm-hmm.
I keep Shudder Live on. That's how I've seen a bunch of the Creepshow episodes.
Nice.
There's a lot of other... the Halloweens I've seen a few times now in the past few days.
I haven't seen this Creepshow. I've seen the one with the werewolf, something like that. I saw that Rob Schraub wrote and directed it. I like Rob Schraub.
Rob Schraub is a ridiculous name.
I don't remember.
I have no idea. All right, let's get into the stuff proper, which is a different type of horror, more of a horror of the soul.
Yeah.
With the following things. The movie is Persona.
The album is Tusk by Fleetwood Mac.
The song is Sweet Jean Vincent by Ian Dury.
And the TV show is The Jerry Springer Show.
And wait, the Pokemon is
Christ.
Riolu, who is the baby Pokemon for Lucario, who is a steel fighting type, and he didn't get another steel fighting type for like a long time.
Oh,
So
Lucario's steel?
Yeah,
I didn't know
which is
that.
useful. Riolu's not.
Steel fighting.
but
I thought he had
yeah.
psychic in there.
No, you would think, right? But
Yeah.
it's one of those ones that doesn't really look like what it is. But what
Interesting.
you gonna do?
Criterion Spine 447 is Les Doulos. I can't speak French. It's a Jean-Pierre Melville I haven't seen.
Wait, let me see
What-
how that's
what's the-
spelled.
what?
Because that does not sound like
You just said a bunch
Le
of...
Dulo. Yeah.
Le Dulo?
Le Dulo. Le Dulo. Le Dulo.
That was real close.
Well, except
It sounded
that,
like you just went... Whoop, whoop, whoop.
except that Le is plural and
Yes,
Le
that's
is
fair.
singular. So
Mm.
Le
it-
Dulo.
yeah.
Slang for informant.
Interesting. I did not know that word.
It is a Jean-Pierre Melville film I haven't seen. I love Melville. We did him as a Let's Take 5 subject. But I've not seen this one, which is fun.
Cool.
Because I have more to see. Bam.
We learned so much.
Indeed.
Such an important segment.
All right, let's get into the film proper. This week we watched Persona.
In these words, the leading film critics of Europe have honored Ingmar Bergman's new film, Persona. Persona is a knowledge, a terrible knowledge of our loneliness, our estrangement, our inability to reach one another. It is a confession of our fears, of man, of failure, of death.
Persona is a 1966 film by Ingmar Bergman, starring Bibi Andersson and Liv Ullmann. It is the story of an actress who all of a sudden stops talking and is sunk into a horrible state of depression, even though the doctor says she seems to be physically and mentally fine. She is taken care of by a nurse. When any sort of treatment isn't really working in the hospital, the doctor recommends that they take her summer home and see if the relaxation will work better outside of that kind of structure. And the two of them start to become closer, and then too close, and then start to have severe psychological turmoil on each other. This is the third Ingmar Bergman film we've done for the podcast. Previous ones were Cries and Whispers and The Seventh Seal.
Which I think there's 7 of them total.
On the list.
On the list.
Yep.
Nice.
Which 3/7? Have we gone 3/7 of the way through?
Good question.
We have not.
No, there's still so much more of this podcast. I hope you guys like it, everyone who's listening, because it's going to be here for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, looking at Seventh Seal, which is one of his more accessible and tonally light films, and Cries and Whispers, which is one of the most upsetting films ever made.
That movie's so upsetting.
Where did Persona land for you? Because it was your guys' first time watching it, right?
Yes. I found it upsetting, but not as... It's thematically upsetting, but it is not the creepy thing about Cries and Whispers, and sort of the effective thing about The Seventh Seal is the way that the visuals are sometimes... the visuals... I mean, always Bergman's visuals are really evocative. He's evoking, like, different feelings here, and it works, but in Cries and Whispers, he's evoking, like, visceral disgust and, like, horror in a way that he isn't here. So I can't say I liked it more, because liking this movie would be weird.
Persona?
But, yeah, because it's not enjoyable. It's not fun to watch, but it is interesting. I mean,
Definitely interesting.
yeah, no, I mean, I kind of wish, like, normally I don't, like, we just finished it, like, 30 minutes ago, and I kind of wish I'd had, like, a little bit of time to digest it, because I don't think I've fully formulated my opinion on it, but perhaps by the end of this conversation, I will have.
I agree.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the other two I might like more as fully fledged films. Not that this wasn't at all, but definitely took some liberties with stuff towards the beginning and end. Just like random things that cut to. We got to see another slaughtering. That's fun.
Mhm.
That's two
Yep.
slaughterings in a row.
Cool.
Because why not? I thought those
Next
were
week is
interesting.
safer.
I
In
hope
terms of
so.
slaughters.
Do we know what's next week?
I know it's next week.
How do you know it's next week? We haven't announced anything.
How would I not know it if we're going to say it at the end of the episode?
I thought we were just gonna roll fresh.
That's true. We'll roll fresh.
Okay.
It's going to be a Western.
Oh damn.
Ruining the magic out of it.
But no, it was a really interesting film to watch.
Let's talk about that part first, because like this movie is about so many things, but there's so much about, I think, like the artificiality in the facades. And this is the movie that I think more than any other Bergman film really acknowledges the artificiality of the filmmaking as well.
Yeah.
So it has like this nameless child who is pressing his hand up against a screen, and it's very more involved in reminding you about the fact that you're watching a film.
Yes.
Like,
I
there's
was thinking the exact same thing when I
Yeah.
saw that. And there's another part where the he does like a weird special effect for Bergman, but where the paper, like the film itself, actually like cracks and crackles away.
Yeah, there's
It's super weird and cool. Yeah.
he does that. I mean, obviously the most famous shot of the movie is the faces melding together into the one. But also even just like early on, he kind of set the standard because like you have her lying on the bed of sorts, and you're watching her face, and does a cut to her face being open. Typically, when you have editing, you're cutting from one subject to something else in the room, so it's more of like a natural, like, looking at this. But he keeps throughout this movie using cuts of the same person. Like, you would have it be just do an abrupt cut closer up or further away, in a way that makes editing more. You become more aware of the editing, and you become more aware of so many things. Like I said, like there's a point when like literally the film breaks down and it starts to shatter, and it kind of goes back towards like old silent theories on editing, or like having just random images and whatnot, and see if that can evoke an emotion.
There's
like
definitely a penis in there.
there's definitely a
Sliced
penis in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
They did a Tyler Durden thing.
Yeah. And you have like
Which I
A
think
Tyler Durden thing. Sorry, it took me a second to put that together.
yeah.
it's the other way around, but
Yeah.
And so you have that combined with the fact that this is an actress, and so early on you keep having a bit of her profession being tested and how kind of she uses it, right?
Mm-hmm.
This idea that like, is she even just like being mute right now so she could like take the essence of the nurse to kind of use for a future role? Like, is it
Yeah.
is that going on? Is there? And I think one of the most like pointed monologues out of the movie is having the head doctor to kind of like start to like break her down and assess her of like about like where like her depression is and how it's just like this large vacuum of a soul and whatnot. So I think it's something that Bergman's really exploring in how this film is constructed, which is much different than his last two films.
where does this fall in chronology of?
It's let's see here. Seventh Seal is, I want to say 50s, and Cries and Whispers is like 70s, so this is late 60s.
Okay, so right in the middle.
Yeah, and I think it's just really kind of interesting. Like, so much of this movie is also based on, I guess, kind of where you sink to, right? Like, there's a really kind of pivotal point in the movie where the nurse Alma is giving this long story, which kind of begins with like her and her friend sunbathing, which leads to a sexual affair with boys nearby, which eventually leads to an abortion. And just it kind of mimics so many things about what's going on in this film. The idea of like innocence by itself, moments of like pure joy, to like self-doubt, and just then like depression you can't get out of, right? Like it has this like, and which then mimics how these two kind of treat each other, because like once you have the nurse who's so like feels comfortable talking to Elizabeth, because they're still not fully understanding that like she keeps saying you're a great listener, but there's no real clear essence of that, evidence of that, because she's just silently like looking towards her.
I saw like a concentration and intensity
for
in her
sure.
face. I believed it. Being an outside party, I would have believed that she was listening.
Yeah.
But it's also like a super fucked up thing to say to somebody who, although everyone keeps being like, oh yeah, she's clearly perfectly fine. I mean, she's not.
Yeah.
It's not a normal thing to choose not to speak to anybody. Like, I mean, that's not how mental illness works, of like, you can physically talk, therefore there's nothing wrong with you, and you just like, and so because of that, like, it's also a weird kind of like selfish torture that Alma is doing, of like, I'm basically using you because I know that you will listen and not talk back. Like, you won't say anything, and like, so much of what she's saying is stuff that she can't tell anyone else because it's a secret. So I mean, I saw that as like a really screwed up, like, I mean, it's a screwed up relationship from the beginning, obviously. But like, I saw a lot of like sinister sort of, or at least very selfish intent in what Alma is up to here. Like, the idea of calling like a catatonic depressed woman a really good listener because like she looks at you when you talk and doesn't say anything back is like super fucked up. Like,
well, and it's,
I kind of got like a disarming feel though, because like, I mean, she started drinking wine and then she starts telling her story, and she knows that whatever happens, she's not going to be like judged. So it's kind of like, you can say what you want and get your experiences out and have someone hear it and know that you won't at least receive judgment back.
which is why,
right, but she's a, like, that's what therapy's for, but that's a, but she's a person. She's a person sitting in front of you who is essentially like captive to her, certainly to her own depression. Like, she's not like, she's, it, you know, like, she's not in a place where she's just gonna like walk away. I don't know. It's messed up.
well, there's also the idea that like when Alma starts to turn on Elizabeth is when she breaks privacy and reads the letter.
Right.
And the letter isn't particularly damning, but it does like share, only within like one sentence, you know, the story that was told to her.
Right.
But I think it's also the idea that now she knows that it isn't just an abstract idea being listened to.
Oh,
is
yeah.
that you were like actually listened to. And then she just turns so quickly on the idea that like, and this is a great moment at the beginning too, because like you have like initially when the head doctor says like you should be assigned to her, and she initially says no because she goes, it's an active like decision to not talk. It isn't something physical or psychological going on. She's
Her mind
making
is
a thing.
very strong, and I am not equipped for this.
Yes, and she says that, and then of course the movie continues. And she's part of it. But there is a just very astute thing she has of like there is a control she has over this, and it becomes more and more clear how much she is dominating the narrative to the point where even like she has her posing as her, and again their narratives are melding, and the identity is melding.
I also think that was kind of like, because when she read it, it was a clear correspondence from what's her name, the mute woman. Elizabeth, there we go. Like actively communicating with someone,
Right.
and she doesn't get anything. She really wants some of that back.
That's a great point. Yeah,
but she can't. So then she threatens to throw boiling water on her.
Yeah, which is
Fucked up.
When also I think of fucked upness, of course, is when she breaks the glass, and you have that large piece of glass there, and you keep having Elizabeth almost step on it, and she's very aware of the glass and is watching her almost step on the glass. And eventually, she does step on the glass, but it's also her using the idea of silence as a punishment.
Right.
If you're using silence against me, I'm going to use my silence against you about this glass on your foot, and yeah. It's a lot going on.
I'm gonna go with the moral of the movie being silence is bad, yo.
Well, he has a whole trilogy about that. He has lots about the sounds of God.
Yeah.
In that it will fuck you up.
But I mean, I think it is like, you know, Elizabeth has a certain amount of, like, in some ways she's reclaiming power that we later learn that, or sort of control that we later learn she's got this sort of deathly fear of losing, because she's essentially made everyone pay attention to her in a certain way, right? Like, she is ill. She's the center of the attention. She herself is the center of people's attention in a way that she hasn't, it seems, been, or where she had been as an actress, and then basically has a child and starts to lose that, like, centrality of like people paying attention to her.
Mhm.
Alma also clearly is craving that kind of that she's craving attention essentially. Yeah, no, it's good. You know, can we talk about sort of the whole movie, including the sort of, I mean, I guess it's sort of a reveal of what's going on, of what Elizabeth's backstory is.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess, you know, so like there's sort of to an extent like a big secret lurking at this, which is what is it that happened, or why is Elizabeth like this? And we get a scene where they give a narrative about how basically she's at a party and somebody says the one thing that you don't have is being a mom, which is something that pretty much every professional woman has heard like a trillion times. And she decides to have a kid and basically has a kid and like freaks out. Like she like hates the kid as soon as it comes out of her womb, and like, and then seems to like develop feelings of wanting to be able to reciprocate her kid's love and feeling like she can't. And that's ultimately like what seems to like short out like this sort of feeling of like wanting to be like never being able to be what people need her to be in that moment, and or in that space, like not being what her child needs her to be, but also having lost like her life as a single woman. And like, I don't know.
Well, there's also a lot going on, right? Because something, again, we just finished watching this 30 minutes ago, and or 30 minutes from a podcast, so that's not exactly true. But you have them sitting at the table, right? And Alma gives this monologue. First, you have it done entirely while watching Liv Ullmann, who plays Elizabeth, and then she kind of essentially starts over, and then does a monologue that has overlapping, but there are differences, right?
Small ones,
yeah. And then, but it's all done now from watching Elizabeth,
right?
And so you have a bit of like searching for the truth and kind of also like pushing the truth is kind of what I saw as well, because Elizabeth only talks once in the whole movie, right?
Right, which is to say, don't. When she's going to throw boiling water on her.
Well, no, that's before that.
Oh.
No, because like they're in it. It's then she lies about it, right? It's when like she'd been drinking a bit, and she says like, you know, if you put your head down, right, you're gonna like just kind of melt into the table. And then
I took that as not her
real?
actually uttering the words, but thinking it, and
which is, and then you have
I thought of it as more of a psychological thing, not her actually saying the words out loud,
because we don't see the lips move at all.
But also, like, I feel like there were other scenes where like you could hear her thoughts almost.
When obviously it becomes like, what is reality for someone to this? Because then after that sequence, you have her like visiting her and like caressing her in the night, and the next morning she says, did you speak? And she shakes her head no. Did you come into my room last night? She shakes her head no. So either neither of those happened, or both of them happened,
and
or not necessarily,
or who knows that yeah. And that just becomes more and more like even like, is the sequence with the husband completely like factual.
That's another one that is not,
which kind of goes into the facade of filmmaking, right? Like I said, the faces blend, they all blend, and there's something that kind of, I feel like it's in a lot of films, like the contagiousness of madness and depression, and kind of like, I don't know, exposing your fears and weaknesses doesn't, like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to me because my feeling, and you know, and Cries and Whispers is also very much about the dangers of secrets and particularly family, like secrets pertaining to family and sex, and the ways that those things cut to the core of your identity and like mess you up when you hold them inside. What I think is probably, like, in both movies, but particularly in this one, the telling of those secrets doesn't help anyone at all, which I find to be a very strange message, because it's not what it doesn't seem to provide any catharsis, and I don't know why. I mean, in that, like, that is not my experience with those kinds of secrets. That in fact, like you know, the reality that he is depicting, where you would tell a secret like that and not feel that like you had lifted some sort of weight off yourself, at least somewhat, is an odd choice to, like, I don't, he seems to be saying some things about the need to, not hold in these like horrible, deep dark corners of our beings, but then like his outlook is so pessimistic that like none of his it can't possibly be true that any of his characters have any like catharsis or healing from having done that, which is weird. I don't know. I'm not totally a Bergman person. I know I'm not a Bergman person. I think it's because I don't agree with him philosophically on a lot of things. I am a pretty adamant optimist, although I have a pretty, I spend a lot of time in the depths. I'm a pretty adamant optimist, and he's not. And I find pessimism is something that is dangerous enough to my worldview that I find it irritating. And so it doesn't. So there's things about this movie in that sort of sense that I'm just never going to like, I think. But
I would find, I don't know, on the scale of optimism to pessimism isn't like the right scale, but like more things that like he was exploring in this resonated with me than other things that like I see in other bits of art. I don't know.
That's very general. What do you mean?
To me, like his depictions, I feel more like familiarity with like the way he talks about secrets than I feel like I don't like find catharsis through secrets.
Well, no, I mean that's just like a different experience.
Yeah.
Like, but because it's just quite alien to my experience. I don't, and he doesn't provide. I think it's that the response to the telling of those secrets is just like there's just no real, like it doesn't do anything either way, which makes it really hard. Like it doesn't seem to have. I don't know. To a certain extent, I can't quite tell what he's trying to say. I don't know. But again, I saw it an hour ago, so I don't claim to be an expert.
There's one scene I don't fully get in this movie, which I guess could go into like something we talked about earlier, but like the sequence where Elizabeth is alone in her room and she just keeps staring at that photograph, which almost seems like is it like a wartime photograph?
Looks like a bunch of Nazis hurting people.
Yeah. And it's kind of keep like...
Was it a famous picture?
Yes, it is. It's a famous picture. I was going to look it up, but it's a famous picture of like a little boy outside of a concentration camp.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't really get that.
Why was it in her book?
What? Yeah.
Someone put it there.
That's true. Also interesting because like the way that book is, like it's like super classically bound. So she has like the letter opener to get into the pages.
Yeah, she uses like a paring knife to...
Yeah. I've never actually seen a book like that. I've always
wanted to have one.
Yeah, me too.
And, like rip it open.
So it's almost like that was bound within. Is that what that kind of implied there? Yeah, it was within the bound pages. But like they kept like looking at certain things. Like, they have like a close up of the boy, there's a close up of like one of the soldiers and whatnot. That's the one part of the movie where like I don't have a very clear like guess about.
I sort of saw that going along with like the Burning Monk, which is very I mean, I sort of took it as a general comment on, like, Elizabeth's got a lot of things going on. It being 1966 doesn't seem to be helping matters, right? Like, the world, it's a lot of pictures of the world being a really senseless, horrible place without a lot to recommend it. And particularly because she focuses on this picture of a little boy. There's something, the scene suggests that she has some sort of feeling or, relationship or wants, she spends a lot of time looking at it.
Maybe it's because she can't, like, this is someone's son, but I don't feel that.
Yeah, I don't feel that.
Hurt me because I'm a mother, but I'm not.
Yeah. It's
feeling
just,
that.
just to refine the thing about the secrets, I think the reason that this bugged me in particular is that the secret that she is telling is a secret that so many women have and for generations upon generations have been helping each other through by sharing with each other. And the idea of depicting there were a bunch of things in this movie that rubbed me the wrong way about, like, I'm sort of like, I don't know why he's telling a story about women, but he's telling a more general story, and there's some stuff about it that felt a little off to me, and that I think was the big one. That, like, the telling of the horrible secret that you hate your child, which is this thing that is seen as like everyone in the world knows that this is supposed to be the worst possible secret, except it's not, because every mother has it. And I mean, it like it's postpartum depression. We've been dealing with it for as long as we have been human. But it isn't something, I think what bugged me is that scene of like a woman confessing to another woman or speaking to another woman about her feelings about hating her child. I have trouble believing it is a scene that Ingmar Bergman has witnessed.
Well, if that's what we saw.
If that's what we saw. But I mean, there are certainly aspects of that scene that suggest that that is the case. And it's a particularly weird secret to have be sort of flat in the way that it's responded to. And I know he's doing things that are more about identity, but that's, I think, why it just didn't ring. It didn't ring true to me, frankly. That conversation about motherhood is a conversation that women have with each other. And like, not all women, but most women. And it is, if it had been almost anything else.
I don't know, I feel like that's too, I find that to be like too literal. Like, I don't think that's like, I don't see Elizabeth as someone essentially keeping secrets. I guess I'm thrown off by it being called a secret.
I definitely think it's a secret.
Is it called a secret?
The fact that she's mute the whole time, like, I think is a big, like, nail.
I mean, there's a
kind of thing.
Well,
like,
to me, like the muteness is more of it's a breakdown of identity is the wrong word. She has become overwhelmed by the idea of like performance, I guess, in ways, and she's also becoming aware that doing this mute thing is also performance, and it becomes a spiral of when I'm acting at the performance, when I'm with my husband's performance, when I'm with my mother's performance, and all these just keeps making her feel like emptier and emptier, have more and more dread, and doing this is also that, and then like pushing that upon Alma is also that.
Yeah, no.
But a performance is a lie. It's a secret. She's playing the part of the mother, the loving mother, but that's a lie.
Right.
Because the truth is she's not saying the truth. She is acting a falsehood, which internally means that the truth is a secret. Because she's not coming forward with that.
I guess
rather than actually be a mother who dislikes their child, not because necessarily their child's an evil person or anything, just because motherhood doesn't suit her, which is fine.
Right.
Like, doing that is a non-option, so it's easier to just shut off from the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and certainly I will say that, like, but, like, I guess when you describe what you're saying, like, everything is a performance, you're always, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's just, like, being a woman. Like, I mean, really, like, I really, especially because of the gendered, like, focus, because it's so strongly a movie that is about the relationship between two women, I think it is somehow, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but, like, certainly that crippling spiral does take women down. Like, it knocks plenty of us down and makes us lose our sense of identity and does weird things to us. But it's also really, really common. And I think that's what makes it hard to me, because this is a woman who has people around her who love her and who are depicted as loving her, and this is where I think it rankled that it's a film made by a man who's talking about an experience that is very, very female, and he's making a bigger point with it that I think is very cool about the ways that, like, we melt, like, this, the blurring of identities is a very interesting and cool thing that he's doing. He just, for me, he picks a weird thing. He picks a thing to center the movie around in terms of what it is literally about, that I don't think he has the full understanding that he thinks he does of. Like, I don't think he understands it as well as he thinks he does.
All right, I'm going to give this 4.7.
Damn.
Love Ingmar Bergman, and this is one of the upper ones for me.
Better than the other two?
Seventh Seal I like more, and Cries and Whispers is like the biggest asterisk in my filmmaking rating because it hurts me too much.
It's so painful.
Like, if there's like any film I would never want to see the rest of my life, it's Cries and Whispers, because like it hurts my soul too much, but it's also super well made. I think I also gave that a really high rating.
You did.
They're all like, he's one of the best filmmakers ever made, and this is still stunning to me.
I think of the three that I've seen, this is my least favorite, but only by a bit. Like, it's Cries and Whispers I also never want to see again, but it has stuck with me in a way that I'll be interested to see, but I don't think this one is going to as much. But, like, it's really good. I'll give it a 4.3.
I will give it a 4.3 as well. Something just missing. I don't know. It was nice to watch. It was really pretty, actually, seeing it on the
So
Criterion.
pretty.
It's very, very pretty.
Like, you can see, like, every little dimple in someone's face. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, it has one of the best cinematographers, and there are those, like, especially like close-ups of, like, or like, I forget where it was in the film, but there's like a side of the face, and like, I really think I saw every pore on that Blu-ray. It was absurd.
It's
But yeah, it's on the Criterion Channel. It's in the hysterically large box set. A picture from this movie is the front of the large box set, which is fun. The hand on the face. Which is another great image of, like, not actually touching a face. You're touching the barrier between connection.
Which is what her son feels every time he touches her face.
Now it's time for Fleetwood Mac. What do we hear this week?
This week, we listened to Tusk by Fleetwood Mac.
What makes you think you're the one who can't have it without crying? What makes you think you're the one who can't live without dying? Everything is there to see.
Tusk is the 12th studio album by Fleetwood Mac, and is their second to last. In fact, no, it is their last recorded album. Their last album was a live album. Came out in 1979, almost 1980. It was regarded as a commercial failure. Their previous album is Rumors, which, let me just look at the track list, but my memory is, Rumors has, like, Go Your Own Way and Dreams on it, which are two of their, like, biggest hits. This does not. It didn't do as well. It's definitely right before the band sort of breaks up. I don't know Fleetwood Mac as well as I should, but I really enjoyed this. Like, I really enjoyed I like their feel. I really do. And did Austin listen to it as well, right?
I did, yeah. I don't really think I know who Fleetwood Mac is.
Do you know who Stevie Nicks is? Does that
Yes.
name ring a bell? Stevie Nicks is the lead singer of Fleetwood Mac.
Wait, really?
Yes.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, that's
cool.
That's the whole,
But I also, like, know Stevie Nicks because, like,
What's that
it's
one
like a
song
plot
that
point in
everybody
School of
knows?
Rock.
Right, yeah.
I don't know music, as I said now for 179 episodes in a
but,
row.
like, Fleetwood Mac is, like, one of the few, like, major rock bands with female members, right?
Yeah.
Like, female, that's their thing. They're like soft, cool rock people stuff.
And this is just so many, like, incredible ones. I'm, like, looking through, like, the ones I found to be some of the best ones are the ones that are very Stevie Nicks heavy. Like, I think Sarah's
really good.
was an amazing song.
Yeah.
I really like that. I really like.
I mean, I don't like
Storms.
that one because they spell Sarah wrong because they don't put an H on it.
Sick burn.
Yeah. I really like the title song, Tusk. I think it's awesome.
I really. What made you think you're the one? The one I didn't love was Not That Funny. That was a bit, like, too experimental and, like.
Yeah,
off
they're
of
definitely going for something, and apparently the goal was very much to make something that was nothing like their previous album, which the studio was kind of like, wait, why? Like, your last album sold 10 million copies. Why? Like, why would you want to make something that is nothing like the really successful thing you just did?
Well, that's the nature, right, of artists.
Yeah, but I mean, this is sort of the album that is in. It's their last album. It's sort of their Abbey Road. It's their Let It Be. It's when everyone has taken too much cocaine and fighting with each other. You know what I mean? Like, and it's interesting because it's a very calm album given everything that's going on. I love Fleetwood Mac is great. Like, it's very swaying background music to me. I know people are, like, really into Fleetwood Mac, and I'm not, like, really into Fleetwood Mac, but I really enjoy it when I listen to their stuff.
No, it's pleasant. Each one really kind of felt like a unique little story being told, and yeah.
No, I really liked this album. I am, like, I am, as usual, and I didn't have time to look it up, interested to know how many Fleetwood Mac albums are on this list, and doing the thing of, like, did you guys just put, like, the least popular one to seem cool? Like, there's a little bit of, like, I definitely feel from what I've read, like, saying Tusk is my favorite Fleetwood Mac album is, like, a douche canoe thing to say. Which is not to say it's a bad album, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like, it was seen as a flop. It's like their last experimental album, which is, yeah, it's good. I mean, yeah.
There are 2 Fleetwood Mac.
And what's the other one?
The other one is, it's hard to do on my phone. The other one is Rumors.
Yeah. I mean, which, like, those are both good. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's still a little weird, but okay.
I don't, because I don't have the comparison point, but I don't really see this as a weird choice, to be on it.
No, it's fine. No, I'm mostly nitpicking. It's, I just don't like this list, and I like to point out every time that it's written by, like, British douche canoes.
There are 3 songs on the list, one of which is Tusk.
Huh. Okay.
One of them is Go Your Own Way.
Great song.
And the other one is Oh Well Parts 1 and 2.
Cool.
Total number of album sales for Fleetwood Mac sit between Adele above and the Bee Gees below.
Cool.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
All in the 120 million.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
They're a pretty popular band. People like Fleetwood Mac, you know?
And this is a good album.
Yeah, I liked it. 4.2. Solid. Quality.
4.2 sounds good. All right, that was the album segment. Now it's time for the song segment.
Yes.
Peter, what did we hear this week?
This week we heard Sweet Jean Vincent by Ian Dury.
White face, black shirt, white socks, black shoes, black hair, white strap, bled white, dyed black. Sweet Jean Vincent, let the blue cats roll tonight. As the sun comes on in the Union Hall, Bob is their delight. They come back to Benny, take an uncanny Annie. She's the one with the floral feet. You can break her knees, maybe sick or breeze. The beat is weak on me.
Sweet Jean Vincent is a song by Ian Dury. It came out in 1977. 27 November, actually. Fun. Getting up on an anniversary. It's an interesting song.
How are you going to celebrate?
I don't know if I will,
Fair.
to be honest.
Heh.
It starts out as an almost sad ballad, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And then it jumps into this very happy and bouncy rock song.
Yeah, the back half sounds like it's like a beach song.
Yeah, which is weird. It's not even the back half. It's like 1 minute and then like 3 minutes.
Mhm.
It's like the split. And I don't know how I feel about that.
I listened to it a couple times trying to find that answer for myself. And then I read the lyrics.
What
Going
do the
like-
lyrics say? I did not
Well, like read
check
the
those.
I read the lyrics going like, and that didn't help explain to me
Oh, it
the
did not
shift
help.
either. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to explain to me why this one's on the list.
I don't know. It's fun. It's the sticking value is quite high.
Okay.
It sticks in your head, the happy bit. But weirdly, I think I like the ballad part in the beginning more.
Okay.
As the song goes, and then when it ended and it just launched into this
beach song. Yeah.
beach song, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But is the other part coming back? And then it doesn't.
Well, it's a 3-minute song. It's only so many times you can
That's
switch
fair.
genres.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, all around, very weird song.
I like that song. I like this song a lot. It's stuck in my
Yeah?
head. And I'm a big fan, like The Styx, Sail Away. I'm a big fan of 2 songs squished together into one song. So I'm like, oh, this is a pleasant song. And I'm like, oh no, we're doing a different thing. I'm here for this different thing now. It's catchy. It's like, I feel like if I had been a person who was listening to the radio at the time this song was on the radio, it would have gotten stuck in my head, and I would have been a big fan.
I suppose it's fair.
I liked it. I liked it just fine.
Apparently, Inder really liked Gene Vincent. Like, apparently, he claims to have bought every single ever released. Which, I guess back then would have been more of a feat.
Yeah.
Now you can just kind of
One button on
click,
iTunes. Yeah.
and you can get
I
an
now
entire
own the collection.
discography.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've got a lot to say about this song, to be honest. It's fun to listen to, but it's a song. Like, there's nothing super weird or crazy or interesting.
Yeah, I like it though.
Mm-hmm. I'll give it 4 henges. I'll listen to it again.
I'll give it 4.2. I liked it.
3.
I really liked this song.
Austin's still confused.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said, except that it's a good song. it's
Sweet Vincent. Dun, 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 dun.
Okay. Now it's time for art.
Is it?
You betcha. It's a TV show segment where we watch The Jerry Springer Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome the 8th wonder of the world, Jerry Springer.
Thank you. Oh, how nice you are. Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome to the show. Thank you. My guests today say their relationships have...
Jerry Springer Show is a talk show that aired from 1991 to 2018. It was hosted by Jerry Springer. It is a show that I didn't grow up with Jerry Springer Show. Like, I know, like, everyone I seem to know, like, would watch that on TV when they're homesick, or they would, like,
What do you mean?
get drunk and have it on and like that. So this was my first exposure to a proper, like, full episodes of Jerry Springer Show. And it's a very simple format. Jerry Springer is the host. He's usually standing in the audience primarily. He is here to bring out people who are going to usually confess something or be confronted on something terrible they've done. Then the person that they've wronged usually appears. And then sometimes a third party appears who's also involved in this. The audience screams at them. Then there's like 3 more stories like that. And then at the end, the audience gets to ask questions, which is typically statements, puns, and judgments.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, I have lots of thoughts on the Jerry Springer Show, but I guess I want to have you guys start with. Like, Peter, did you watch Jerry?
I didn't watch anything, like, recently, but it was definitely something growing up.
Yeah.
Jerry, like, after school you come home, throw on Jerry or Maury,
Yeah.
see what's going on. A lot of times it would, like, be a start of, like, honest conversations amongst the friends watching. Be like, well,
Oh,
what do
yeah.
you think? Do you think this is good or bad? Or how, whatever. Like, usually almost always handled differently and more respectfully than this show.
Yes, it would
But-
be difficult to be less respectful as a
Oh.
general rule. No, I also watched a ton of Jerry Springer. Not a ton, but I remember it very clearly, which
Yeah.
is probably because I was watching it illicitly. Like, I wasn't supposed to be watching the Jerry Springer show
Sure.
when I watched it generally.
illicitly watching Jerry Springer. Like, there's a pure way to watch it.
No, I mean, like,
on a
it
Blu-ray
was like
format.
it
It's
would-
not.
it
It's
would be
not
like
for kids.
It is.
No.
It is not for children. Yeah, like,
Like-
but I remember, like, it ran, like, when I was home from school or it was summer and my mom was out. Like, it'd be like that and Ricky Lake and Maury, and then eventually, and I was looking this
Yeah,
up
there's
because
a
I
lot
mentioned
of
this to
Maury.
you. I watched a lot of Maury.
Never seen more.
The Steve Wilkos show, and Steve Wilkos, that's later. Like, it's like more in the 2000s, but Steve Wilkos used to be a bouncer on Jerry Springer and then
Oh.
gets his own show.
Interesting.
So the episodes I watched were all made in the 90s. There's a lot of fascinating stuff I found about it. One is a really impressive sense of editing,
Yes.
which I think has to be a major connection to its appeal, because, like, it'd be 42 minutes, you'll get through 3-4 stories, and there is no downtime.
No. Yeah.
It goes by so quickly, and not just because of, like, rapid fire, like, MTV editing. It's just like such a concise. We're gonna bring you down. What's your thing? Here's my thing. Oh shit! Here's some booing. Here's the next person. Jerry. Some more things going on, and, like, it is so tightly made that has to be part of, like, its addictive quality, because if there is something of, like, oh, we're gonna get to their backstory and then get around to it. No.
Yeah, no.
And I think part of that is the guest understanding of the show as well. So they know what their one sentence log line is for their mess of people. I mean, there's a direct line between Jerry Springer's show and reality TV.
Oh, for sure.
And there is such a...
Particularly shit reality TV. Like, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, I feel like, is very much the...
Well, I think, yeah, like that and like the Real Housewives. Like they're,
Yes.
Which is an interesting thing because this is going for a way, like, it's going for a lower class presentation, whereas now the most popular kind of, like, witness the drama and absurdity is all upper class.
It's interesting, you're right.
You had the Real Housewives, you had the Vanderpump Rules.
That's true.
I think we've now shifted to where we are much happy punching up rather than punching down, because there is a presentation of a freak show element to this.
Yeah.
That always makes this genre feel grosser than than other reality shows, I feel. Is that something you all agree with, or?
I mean, yeah, Jerry Springer is sort of unabashedly, uncompromisingly horrible, and shows
Wait, the show or the person?
The show.
Okay.
And shows everyone at their worst, right? Like Maury, for example, as his main competitor, also had fights and stupid audience questions and a lot of, like, creepy freak show shit. Like, of sort of, like, let's look at people who are different and, like, judge them. But, like, Jerry Springer is nothing that anyone says on Jerry Springer goes too far, right? I mean, like, there's no sheen of, like, running a decent operation here on my television show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he doesn't care. Mm-hmm. In that way, like, I was like, when I was watching it, I was like, it does feel so very 90s. Although it ended, by the way, last year. The last new episodes of Jerry Springer came out in 2018.
I said that at the beginning.
I know, but again, I wanted to emphasize again. I did hear you say that, but I needed to emphasize again. Last fucking year.
I know, and now he's a judge.
Yeah, he's Judge Jerry. But, like, it's sort of weird. It's a little bit like watching... There's media in every generation, I think, that is an encapsulation of, like, our sins. Like, this place that we go to wallow in the horror of what we have created as a society. Mm-hmm. I would say, like, Sean Hannity is a pretty good... Like, no, but seriously, like, a lot of, like, the really hate-filled Fox News stuff, a lot of really hate-filled comedy on the left, too. Like, the really, like, mean, dark stuff that sort of receded on the left since Trump became president, but was very much a part of the Obama, like...
Well, yeah, and this is something that, like, it's showing a world that is there, right? Mm-hmm. I haven't done a lot of research into the history of Jerry Springer, though I'd love to read a book about this.
Yeah, and there are some, and I, like, genuinely do.
I always love being off about these segments, because I have right now a book coming in about The Tonight Show coming to the library, so I will be better educated for the thing I did weeks ago. But with Jerry Springer, like, I'll be curious to see, from my guess, based on seeing 4 of the 3,000 episodes of this show, that I would be surprised if the show fabricated things. Like, I bet, like, contestants, this is the wrong word, but guests maybe be lying a bit. But there's something about the kind of philosophy of how Jerry operates as an MC that I found really interesting, because he always is removed because he stands in the audience, is not up on stage. He is never judgmental towards people for their lifestyle.
Right.
Episode I saw, he never would judge someone for being a stripper, being a sex worker, for being...
Yeah, he just has questions. And, and they're genuine. Like, it does feel genuine that he's...
And the only thing he ever, I think, make a comment on was he is against the idea of lying to your partner.
Right.
That is the one thing he will then, like, openly make a comment about. I mean, obviously, this is the persona of a host. He is still creating a platform for this to happen. But something that's very interesting about, like, there's a reason the crowd kind of keeps shouting Jerry, Jerry, is that he actually does seem like a nice figure in this. He's not a Vince McMahon where he's wanting the wrestlers to fight and he's the object of hatred and they should fight him as well. Jerry is a moderator for, again, a rather, like, gross show. I'm never going to say it isn't gross. It's a very gross...
I would say remove rather from that sentence.
Yeah.
Like,
I just find, like, I think there's reasons why there's a free show element which is the gross part, but there's something about the format that doesn't make this like. I thought I was going to hate this a lot more, and there's a lot to dislike about it.
It is.
But-
It can be a little hypnotic too, which is definitely what my experience was as a child. Like I definitely was. Like you always want to know what the next thing was. I remember I always used to get irritated because Maury did like DNA tests for the father, like every episode, and it's like Jerry Springer always had something new on. Like you can never accuse Jerry Springer of like doing the same thing every show. And like so. Couple things. First of all, there's a really good article on the AV Club, which like I figured this must be around somewhere, that is like an essay by a former PA on the show. It's not fake, but it's not real either. Like all the people are real in that like they are in fact in relationships. And the fights are real, but they're very much like stoked by PAs on the side. You know, they do a lot of like whispering in people's ears about how they've been wronged. Apparently, the real like the freak show element, which was a whole like there were different. Apparently, the show was like divided. The production was divided into like different kinds of stories. This one was in the dysfunctional families story, which she said was like the worst because like it was depressing and often involved like minor children and like but there was like sort of a freak show like one, and that was the easiest one apparently because you just like called up strippers who advertised on back pages, and like I think that's what like Jerry Springer is so much the encounter of middle America with like a finally like fully culturally dominant complicated, non-monogamous, like non-heteronormative world that is just starting to like take hold. And so like, first of all, it's super offensive to watch on a lot of those issues now, but it is, it just sort of interesting things about the show, right? Like Jerry Springer was mayor of Cincinnati for a while. Yeah. The show is all, both the contestants and the people who are appearing on the show are from sort of like the southern Indiana, northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area, which makes like when you think about that.
Well, it's filmed in Chicago for most of its run,
right? But like that's where apparently that's where a lot of the contestants came from because that's where Jerry Springer was the most popular.
Sure,
it aired a ton on those TV stations, and like, I mean, you guys are both from Indiana, like it's about Cincinnati and its like rural environs are about as middle America as you can get in middle America. And it is like there's a lot of hatred getting spewed towards guests who are trans or guests who are gay or
What was interesting about that?
But there's also a lot of like curiosity and like other it's a weird thing.
Well, I got a random sampling again. I saw 4 episodes out of 3,000.
Did you catch any of like the early ones when it was a political show?
No.
No, all of the ones that we watched were
they're
in like
harder to find. And right now they do reruns on the CW, which doesn't abide by YouTube TV, so I can't use a DVR in the same way I could. So I would love to see more because obviously got to watch all 2,900 of them. It was clearly enough into its run. It was in like I would say mid to like late 90s, the ones I was seeing. There was a reference to Slim Shady, so I started to get a better sense of where we were.
Yeah, most of them were in like the 99 to 2001. Yeah.
So there was like an expectation of like what this show is like. You don't go on that show and not scream and make a fight. There was one poor woman. It was a band member who was there who said like, "Yep, I cheat on her every time I go on tour," and then like they bring her out there, and she couldn't hear from the back. They go, "So how do you think your relationship's going?" She goes, I think it's going well, but I'm here now." And then it's like, "Yeah, honey, I've been cheating on you the whole time." It's like, "God damn it." So there is this idea of like you're going to be on here for a thing. So clearly some people have their stock line. But again, the random sampling, what I found really interesting was most of the cruelest things were said from audience members after we were on stage.
A lot of those are scripted.
The audience member stuff? It seemed like that would make more sense. A lot of the
shots are scripted. A lot of the fights are scripted on stage.
Yeah. But there's something about also like there were so many queer people on the show, which I was like a ton of queer people on the show. And it was also like they were very like proudly queer. You know? So you have some bigoted things from the audience member, but like there were a couple of trans people I saw on there who were like who made no apologies. Like yeah, I'm trans or I'm bi, and I'm like really proud of that. And then you have someone on stage say something bad, then fights happen and whatnot. But it was something interesting about having like, I don't know, positive queer people. I don't know.
Yeah,
it is a weird footnote into the episodes. I saw that like
it is.
It's the most trans people I've seen on TV in a while. It's on Jerry Springer, and also it's something more problematic than the crying game. You had a woman who was engaged to 2 different people and didn't tell either one of them that she has a penis.
You should, yeah.
That was my first episode I watched of this show. That was her beginning the show.
Honestly, it's pretty representative.
What's his name? The soldier in the beginning, he knew.
Oh, we're talking about the crying game.
This is more problematic than the crying game.
Got it.
That this is someone who.
This is in Jerry.
Interesting. There was a woman who was very proud of what she did, which is managed to be engaged to 2 different people, none of which knew that she was trans. Yes.
It was a lot going on.
And she came out in a wedding dress. She's like laughing about all that she's
done.
That is
pretty impressive.
You know what?
And then Jerry was trying to ask a question like, how did he not know? And she like then covered him like, you know how I said I was always on my period? I'm like, you've been engaged for 5 months.
Always. That's
So that was my first guest, and a lot going on there.
This show is also horrible and toxic to the culture, though. Like, we should say that. Like, it's bad.
It's bad.
Like a man whose wife appeared on like one of the like cheating. They appeared together as like one of the cheating spouses. Like after the episode aired, like killed her. It is a show that like glorifies the demeaning of other human beings. It is like, it's a bad, much like when we talked about South Park, like just because it's interesting doesn't mean that it should exist.
Well, I think that's it also just why this is such an early precedent for a reality show, because like with so many reality shows now, if you do something crazy on TV, you're going to get like a lot of Instagram followers, right? Like you're going to get some sort of deal, you're going to get a lot of attention. This is that before social media, right?
Right.
There is clearly a badge of honor with people who get to be on Jerry Springer.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
get to say that, like, I get to be on TV. Like, I saw one episode where a Klans member came back again because he was a previous guest, and they kind of came back here to have more black people yell at him.
Yeah,
and he loved the idea of like being on TV.
The racial stuff is particularly strange and generally anti-hate. Like. The
Klan member was being booed, but also he loved being booed. That's why he came back on Jerry Springer.
Right, like it's very much like the freak shows. Like the bigots are the freaks for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's definitely, but it is still like, oh god, the whole thing is. I look at this as like, oh boy, maybe if we had had a constructive conversation about our changing culture instead of doing this, things would be different. You know, I mean, like. This is just like in the 90s, like the world, like you know, culture changed very fast, and you know this general feeling of being left behind by a culture you don't understand, like it's just like that's what Jerry Springer is about, right?
There was one guest where actually I did feel like it'd be the first one I'm like, oh, this is objectively worse than I typically see. Because usually it's all like cheating or he's a Klans member.
Sure, you know.
Or he's a...
The one time I really like turned my head and went like, oh no. Which, it was kind of like a bit awkwardly structured because the guy came out here and said that he saw his fiance cheating on him because he walked in and seen her have sex with her brother.
Oh, that's not good.
And then they both come out here and they're like, do you want to talk about this to the woman? She's like, okay, I know it's bad. He is my half-brother. And they go, nope.
Oh, God.
And it was a thing of like, it was such like, I felt more understanding of the audience, like having loud reactions. Like, so you two share a mother. Well, yeah.
That's not good. None of that is good.
And just her going like, no, we're not going to do it anymore. I don't think we should break up a relationship over this. I'm like, and the guy going like, I don't see the problem with any of this. That was a particular one of like, you can be publicly shamed, which is me adding to the problem of culture as well.
I don't know if that's okay still.
No, it is. Yeah. Now I feel like saying it loud. Like,
you just said it, right?
Which adding to like, yeah, we're taking pleasure in judging these people.
They should be talking to other people.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, Jerry Springer is the worst therapy. It's like all of these people. It's like somebody sane in their lives must have gone like, maybe you guys should talk to somebody, or at least take a little bit of time apart to like think about what's going on. And instead they were like, nope, going on Jerry Springer. And it's like, that's the absolute worst choice you could make to resolve this situation. I'm definitely gonna be going down the rabbit hole of like what smarter people than me have said about its effect on the
this
culture.
had to have been the point of like a billion academic papers.
No, but and I'm generally interested though. I'm genuinely interested. Like this, like just in terms of like the cultural impact, like the Nielsen ratings on this were absolutely fucking insane.
It passed Oprah in 1998.
More than Oprah.
Sure.
More than just like a lot of things. Like everyone watched Jerry Springer, and like, you know, we are what we eat, right? Like that can't have been good for us.
Well, it's just changed venues now. Now we watch the same dumpster fire shit shows online. It's all done on Reddit. It's all done on the person you went to high school with on Facebook, like blowing up and like revealing that they're all cheating, and like we're watching the same kind of like bad elements of humanity as entertainment. It just kind of keeps shifting where we do it.
Although they're definitely much further marginalized than on a mainstream network daytime talk show. And I'm not sure whether that's good or bad, to be honest with you, because it also means that it's like in the shadows. You know what I mean?
So you're saying bring the show back?
No, God,
okay.
no.
I mean, let it breathe for a year.
1 year.
Just let it sit.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he contemplates running for Congress again.
Well, then again,
it didn't work because of Jerry. Wait, now maybe it would work.
Yeah. What? Having a gross reality show host going to politics?
That could never happen.
For what it's worth, I think Jerry would actually probably not be a bad politician.
So
he seems like a decent
I
person.
actually remember.
I think
and
Jerry
he's
Springer
educated.
is better than Donald Trump.
No, he was quite popular in Cincinnati, and I remember in in college, and this was on the Wikipedia article, and it jogged my memory. He's a law degree, he's a lawyer.
Yeah.
And he
Northwestern grad.
Yeah, he is. He's a Northwestern law grad, and he gave the commencement speech in 2008 when I was in college, and I remember there being like a huge like people were like pissed, which I understand.
Sure.
I would be pissed if Jerry Springer was my commencement speaker. Like University of Chicago graduated the guy who runs TMZ.
Oh, that
But,
dude.
like,
We're
and-
lawyers.
And we let him
Yeah.
we let him come back and talk, but we don't let him give the commencement address. But apparently it received great like reviews. Apparently Jerry Springer gave like a pretty eloquent like talk about like ethics and
People like
again,
him.
His
Yeah.
parents were Jewish refugees that fled the war.
no, yeah, and his whole like
Half his family
died in the
concentration-
Holocaust.
Yeah, like
Young boy fleeing the war. Is he in the photograph in persona?
Run! And
Is
he's
she
Magneto.
Is she looking at Jerry Springer?
That would explain a lot.
I'm going to give this a 2.5.
What?
Yeah.
That's way too high. Jerry Springer is bad. Jerry Springer is everything that is bad about humanity. It is bad, it existed, and it made us worse people. It gets a 0.5 for sometimes, maybe, I guess, having queer representation, but, like, also no.
I don't know. There's something about... I can't stop thinking... There
I think
is
it's
something there.
I think it is because you are being hypnotized for the first time. Like, I think the fact that I was completely hypnotized by this show as a child and am revisiting it and being like, no, like, this was bad for my brain. Like, this is bad. But it is, like, it is.
The show feels like an inevitability in culture.
It does.
And it feels like a better way to handle the inevitable.
No!
Because I think there's, like,
Then
some other
what?
shows... Like, there are some, like reality games that I find way grosser than Jerry Springer.
There is definitely I will give you that. There's definitely, and I think there's an argument to be made that the other talk shows that were like more humane, quote unquote, are weirdly grosser because they are not honest and they're actually the same thing. But also Jerry Springer is just watching people revert to an animalistic desire to punch each other.
scripted punching.
Mostly scripted.
I guess I'm just now believing the philosophy of the Purge. Of
Like,
this has to happen so culture gets better.
No, like that's not, no. That's
From what
such
I
a
remember.
disturbing viewpoint.
maybe it's only because like I was really young and I don't remember very well, but it would be like my first exposure to a lot of different types of people, and it made me
Yes.
like, yes, they are people. They should not be getting this bad rap. Why is the audience so mean?
Oh, for sure. No,
stuff
and-
like that, and it actually helped me like empathize with.
No, for sure. I definitely.
which
it was
is weird.
Yes, I agree, but I also think that's kind of like that's kind of like saying like I really empathized with people in like freak shows when I went to the circus. Like that helped me learn empathy. Like yes, it was good that
But they
we
should also not
that,
be there.
that we as empathetic people like saw this insanity that was not kind to them happening in front of us and responded with empathy. That says something good about our character and probably the way our parents raised us. That doesn't mean it's how we should have encountered it.
Fair. But would you watch more of this show?
I will say, like, I will probably go on YouTube and, like, look at, like, some of the wildest clips as I go down and be like, I am interested what academics say about this show.
There's something there.
You know, oh, no.
If you can find some of the early stuff before it started like turning into like
I'd love
tabloids
to
and
see
freak
that.
show and stuff,
Yeah.
like when it was just a political discussion show about like guns and shit like that, like I'd be really curious.
And
I
there
wonder-
were
I'd
there
love
were
to find that.
like there were episodes like that even into the 90s because it was an everyday show, right? So
Yeah.
like you ran out of topics, and there would be sometimes like my like dad owns 1 million guns and I don't like it, you know. And
Yeah.
they would do like you have guns in the house and I don't want to bring my grandkids around. Like I remember that episode of Jerry Springer, and like being like, oh, that's like a real thing that we could talk about. Like anyway, we're still talking about it after we hinged it because guys, it's bad.
It's Jerry's.
It's
what
bad
it
for us.
does.
It's bad for us, guys. Don't watch things that are bad for you. It's bad.
You say after admitting you're going to watch more of this.
Jerry.
I mean, yes. Oh boy.
All right, that is episode 179,
Yeah, it is.
where we discussed Ingmar Bergman and Jerry Springer.
In
They
the
both-
same, you know, honestly, like, wasn't that the dream of this podcast fundamentally? Like, really? I mean,
It's true.
we said that's what's great about this podcast. It's going to be random, so we can discuss Ingmar Bergman and Jerry Springer in the same episode. That's what you get here, listeners, that you don't get anywhere else.
It's true.
Find me another podcast that has ever discussed Ingmar Bergman and Jerry Springer in the same episode, and I will Venmo you $1.
I'm sure this American life is figured out a way.
No, maybe, but if so,
If
and
so,
someone
let us
knows
know.
what it is, tell me.
Anywho, we're going to be back next week with episode 180.
What?
We're going to be discussing the 378th entries in all these lists. And they're the following things. The movie is The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
The only Western I like.
You keep saying that. You've given lots of positive ratings to Westerns
I've given
on this
lots
show.
of fine ratings to Western.
Always like predicated on I hate westerns and this is terrible.
Yeah.
And it's just like all the other.
No, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance is a movie that I genuinely like. Is in my top 50 movies of all time. Like, I genuinely like it.
Damn.
Have you seen it, Peter?
Oh, it's so fucking good.
John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart.
Interesting.
It's so fucking
I'm
good.
not a huge John Wayne fan, to be honest.
It's a very different. It's an interesting. It is a deconstruction of John Wayne. It is
Sure.
not.
We'll discuss that more next week. What's the album?
Ooh, also good. The album is Low by David Bowie.
The song is 20th Century Boy by T-Rex.
Whew, this is some high standards going on.
Seriously.
I have no idea what this is.
The TV show is Alf.
I'm so excited. No, but like I'm so excited because
I've never seen Alf.
I've never seen Alf either, and I still like kind of can't believe that Alf existed. Like that as like on like a primetime sitcom
Ran
was.
for 101 episodes.
That's so many episodes. Like
They made a TV movie.
like that's crazy. I'm excited to watch some Alf.
Also, because it's episode 180, as we said last week, it's JC's turn for a bonus pick, and they are super enthusiastic about the short-lived MTV show called Fear.
Cool.
There are things on YouTube you can watch this thing. I was about to watch one tonight for the first time. JC has asked me to watch this for years now, and now I'm going to try to watch the next 16 episodes of this and Alf of next week.
They gave us a very thorough intro / reason why we should watch this.
Yeah.
What we should do.
I'm
And
excited.
emails-
Last episode.
Emails and oral history as well.
they are clearly passionate.
Yeah.
We will see how that goes.
So that'll all be next week. Till then, leave us a review on iTunes and follow us on Twitter at The Immortals Pod.
Tell me if you find a podcast that has Ingmar Bergman and Jerry Springer mentioned in the same episode, and I will send you money.
Yeah, that probably can't go wrong.
We're
And,
not very much money.
all right. Till then, I'm Austin.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Pedro.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.